want to talk about self-love. I hear people all over the internet always talking about, well, how do you begin to love yourself? Let's just say love is like oxygen to the soul. Almost everybody wants it, and almost everyone is looking for it. To me, love is the only thing that truly exists, right? So how do we learn to love ourselves? Where do we look? How do we start? Essentially, so that's what I want to talk about in this little short live that I'm going to do before I get my Saturday going. And I hope that this helps someone out there as well, which is really why I'm doing it. So, self-love. So let's start with you. You know that saying that talks about when you throw a rock out into a pond of water, that it has a rippling effect, right? So think about it this way. You, yourself, you're the rock. You're the rock that gets thrown out here into the world, and your experiences are the ripple effects. Okay, does that follow me here? You're the rock that gets thrown out, that is birthed into the world, and your experiences are the ripple effects. So everything essentially comes back to you. It comes back to you because there be no ripple effects without the rock, without you. And this reminds me, I have my little card ready. You know, I love Tara. The Fool. You, me, we're like the fools. We're like new at this world experience. You know, we're individual people that go out into the world, and we are looking for love. We're looking for enjoyment, fulfillment, and what have you. And there's nothing wrong with that. That's how we are. You know, we're born we're born in this life, in this consciousness, and we want to have a quality life the best we can, right? And so we go out into the world and we do it the best way that we know how. So a lot of times, or essentially all the time, you're only experiencing what you know within yourself. So this reminds me of like when you go to the doctor. I'll give you another analogy. When you go to the eye doctor and they have they test all these different lenses out for you to look at so that you can read the bottom letters of the bottom row, the smallest row, the letters in that chart. And they're flipping through the lens and you're like, no, I can't see that. And they're like, well, what about this? And you say, that's a little bit better. And then they flip it again and you're like, yeah, that's better. And there's a way of, what about this one? And you're like, not as good. And then, so they're flipping it until they get it adjusted, right? Until you can actually read the smallest of the bottom line. I'm not going to invite someone who's wanting to join off. So I'm going to turn off invites because this is a lesson and I have not, lives to, and I don't really know right now if I even know you or if you're just in here to talk shit or whatever. But let me get through the lessons. And if you stay to the end, then we'll have maybe open questions or something like that we can talk about. But so we're changing these lenses. I wrote notes too, so I don't get distracted, which is another reason why I don't want to accept invites. So we get the lens adjusted, and we can see we have a better perception of what it is that we're looking at, right? So essentially, kind of life is like that. We all have this perception, and the perception that we already have is like the programming that we've been inundated with, right? Since the time we're born, since we're a baby, all the stuff that happened to us, all in your family, your environment, all that stuff was a mirror for you. You kind of took on all that stuff into your own subconscious, and because you were pretty much at a what do you want to call it? Like you were able to be hypnotized, if you were. You're at a hypnosis state. I believe it's the theta and beta state when you are that young, from the very early ages of when you're a baby to when you're about 7. Your brain waves is like in a theta state where you're being molded, if you will, to your environment and the way that things are done. So everything that you've encountered will sit on a shelf, if you will, in your subconscious memory. And we're going to talk about that, the subconscious and the subconscious, in probably lesson 2 or 3. But right now, these are just basically the foundation, if you will, because what we're doing is we're trying to come into an awareness of love. And I'm just starting really small, basement steps, taking you from point A eventually to where you want to be. So the lenses, your lenses, the data, if you will, the programming, the software that you were installed with from the very early stages of your life is going to be how you perceive your environment, how you perceive the world, how you perceive people. So most people live in the upside down world reality, whereby they look out from themselves, they're looking out into the world, and then they're defining who they are by their profession, how much money they have, the types of people that they're surrounded with, who they're in relationships with, the things that they have. People assign their self-worth by what they have, by tangible goods, material things, right? And that's most people who do that. And I don't believe that, I believe that they are probably in the majority. And then you have the upside right people who understand that their lenses have been corrected, adjusted to fit this mind shift, if you will. They understand that that reality begins here on the inside and then reverberates out into the world. So what you hold within here, within yourself, you see in the outside world. It's not backwards like the upside down people see it. They think that all of the things that they are attached to, all the things that are attached to them, gives them their self-worth. And that could not be any further from the truth. So let me look at my nose and let me take a drink of water as well. You know, I have a ton of allergies. I got a lot of inflammation too that I'm really dealing with. So, all right. So let's see where my next. Okay. So the only difference between the people in the upside down world reality and those in the right side up world reality is that those in the upside down world reality are living in their shadow, are living in a shadow perception, if you will. And those who are not have been, have had their lenses adjusted. So when I talk about shadow, essentially what I'm saying is when you're living in the shadow, you're living in your unconscious world reality, the programming that was installed within you, kind of like a computer, like I said, from the time you were born. And until you clean out that data, if you will, upgrade that software, then you will continue to need your lenses corrected, because you will be experiencing events in your life that are going to be applicable to your own understanding of reality. And that own understanding comes from within. But a lot of you guys think it's outside in, and because you've been taught that. You've been taught that, that you need to look a certain way. You need to act a certain way. You need to love a certain way. You need to behave a certain way. You got all this programming from social media, the media in general, from politicians, from preachers, from your parents, from your peers, from society at large, that just gets into your head and takes over. And you wonder why the world is the way it is today, because people are living in the shadows, and in the shadows is like saying you're living in an unhealed space, energy space. A lot of people in this world have not done the work to get out of the shadows. They are living their lives from a place of hurt, and that's why people hurt other people, because that's what is inside of them. That's what they're pushing out. Those experiences are pushing out into the world because they are unhealed. They're living in the dark. They're unconscious, if you will. And those who have had their lenses corrected, adjusted to actually see really the connections here of what really is going on, will push out into the world that understanding. So you got light, and you got dark. You have the shadow, you have the unhealed, you have the healed. And if you're healed, you're operating from a conscious state, if you will, because 90% of what we do is unconscious. You're going out into the world, you may have 10% of what you do is conscious, you're present. But a lot of times you just see people just going through the motions, doing the thing, thinking the thing, behaving the thing, and not really even questioning where their thoughts come from. This is unconscious memory that has been stored within you from the time that you were born. And if you don't work to question the data that is inside of you, within you, so that you can have a better experience in life. Not only will you not find true love, which is, self-love is the best love. And from there, you put that, it's like a magnet. You put that out into the world, and then you attract to you that which is within you. So when people always say, oh, I'm looking for the perfect mate, I'm looking to find a person today, somebody who love me, I'm tired of being hurt and cheated on and used and abused. You have to start within yourself. The world, your reality lives up here in your mind, right? But your heart, who you are, how you are defined, it should not start from the outside world in. You should not be living your life concerned about what other people think about you and what other people say about you, or even your reputation, to be honest. Love, true love will come from within you. And that is the way, my friend, that you find love. There is a process, but it has to be, you have to never give up. You have to consistently look within yourself. And I cannot tell you that your experience is going to be the same as mine. I started this journey, I would say I'm 55. I started this journey 30 years ago when I was 25 years old. I was angry with the world. I was hurt. I kept going in and out of relationships. I was partying a lot, with people that really were not, were not good in my life. I guess, we were all blind. I was young, I was 25. And I just became really unhappy, and I stopped hanging around people, stopped going out, stopped doing a lot of stupid things I was doing, and just really started to spend time with Felicia. I would go to a coffee house. I remember I lived in Atlanta, and I would go to this coffee house in Sandy Springs, Georgia, and I would sit there and drink coffee. I used to drink a lot of coffee. I don't now. I occasionally have it when I do like my 12 shifts at work, but my 12-hour shifts at work. But I would drink coffee, and I would bring these books, and I would bring a notepad just like I have here, like this thing here. I write down my thoughts. I write down the messages that are, at that time, I didn't really know what I was doing. I just knew that I needed to put everything that was in my head, put it down on paper, and I needed to get out what was inside of me. Why was I so upset? Why was I so angry with the world? And I started to uncover that, the messages from society about, being a black person in America, being a gay person in America, being a female, a woman, if you will. I try not to say the female word, which is another topic, but being a woman in this society, I was getting a lot of negative messages from our society, and how somehow I was deemed undesirable, unworthy, that I was not equal to other people in this society. And I started to, that data, I started to accept it without questioning it. I was doing that from early on, and I got to a point to where it was not correct within my body, within my mind, because I was out of sorts. I wasn't centered on who I really was. I had been accepting the worldview of who I was because of what I looked like and because of my genitalia, right? So I started on this inner search, trying to find out why Felicia was not happy. And boy, I have never given it up. I've never given that search up. I have discovered so much beauty about myself, about what I represent, and I have learned, I love Felicia. I have been able to, because I was coming from a place that was unhealed and that was hurting, living in the shadows, right? But it all came back to me and how I was perceiving things and how I was seeing the world. Now, I'm not saying that society is not like that they don't push these negative messages about certain groups of people based upon race and gender and sexual orientation, because they do. It's all over the place. We see it all the time, right? But I think those negative messages that are trying to hurt other people and push people down are coming from people that are unhealed themselves, that are living in the shadows, that are still living in darkness, and they've not had their lenses corrected, right? So that's the difference between the upside down people and the right side up. One set of people have had their lenses corrected and adjusted, and the other have not. And they don't see that they are living in in a personal kind of worldview that doesn't incorporate other people. I mean, like, how in the world can you be, really think about this, people, how in the world can you think that you're better than someone else just because of the money that's in your bank account, the job that you have, the person who you're married to, or because of your skin color or your gender, right? But there literally are people who believe that because they subscribe to that inside world reality. Their self-worth comes from their status, right? Their social status. And our society paints their own picture of the social status and what is the norm, what is acceptable, what's the status quo, right? And then as individuals, we go out and we see that, well, we don't fit this model, so that must mean that we're not as worthy, right? But all that is bullshit. It's a lie. And you have to clean out that data. You have to get rid of that software, that programming. I mean, we've all been programmed because we're part of this society, right? You have to get rid of that program because it doesn't serve you. It doesn't serve your higher self. It only serves to keep you down if you're a person of color, if you're a woman, and if you are, like, say, gay or trans or whatever, because you don't fit the status quo. You don't fit what our society deems as appropriate and what is acceptable. And they use this all the time. They use this rhetoric and this programming in homes, in churches mostly, right? Because supposedly 80% of the society is Christian. A lot of this software that is being downloaded in your mind is done intentionally, and it's done to divide you and separate you from other people and not to love other people. How can you say that you want to find love and be loving if you cannot see people for who they are and be accepting and loving of that, right? And I'm not saying, because we have a lot of dark people that do a lot of horrible things in this world, right? I mean, we can think of those types of people. I'm not saying that we got to go out and hug them and love them and invite them into our lives. They're people that I would never have anything to do with, right? But I understand from a personal level that I am a loving individual, whether someone chooses to love me or not, right? Because for the very fact that I'm alive, that I'm conscious, that I'm here, that I'm having this life experience, and love is like an action, it's like an energy. I endorse that. I embrace that. That is, I am love in being manifested. That's who I am. That's my energy. I claim it all day long. That is my birthright. I can love other people from a distance. I can accept other people from a distance, but I don't have to have interactions with those people, right? I don't have to have people like that in my life. However, I am not going to revenge, if you will, upon people who think that I am not worthy. And they're on the news all day long. They're at the workplace all day long. They're on social media all day long. People like that, excuse me for a minute. People who, again, I'll say it, they are about pushing out the ripple effects. They are the rock, remember? They're about throwing out into their world reality that which resides within them. And I can tell you, the present is a gift. This is the reality in the present. This is all we have right here, right now. I can only give you what is within me. I can't give you something I don't have. So when somebody is showing their true colors, and their true colors are to hurt, to manipulate someone else, you, my friend, to put you down, to try to make you feel like shit, guess what? That is coming from within that person. You have no really real reason to go around in your life treating people like shit unless you feel like shit. You want a better world? Then get in touch with yourself. Get in touch with who you are and start to love yourself. Learn to love yourself. And I'll say this, we're going to get into how you do that. I know it's easier said than done. It's just learn to love yourself. People say, well, how do you do that? Well, you start by recognizing that you have trauma. Being born into this world, right? Into the 3D world reality, I'll call it. Being born into this life is traumatic. I mean, not only is it traumatic when you're physically a baby and you're coming out screaming bloody murder, but emotionally, the things that we go through. And most of us have been traumatized at one time or another in our lives. And what I was experiencing when I was 25 and I was very unhappy, that was psychic trauma from a toxic society telling me I am not worthy to be here, that I'm not worthy to be loved. That is real. That has real effects on people mentally, emotionally, spiritually, psychologically. You have to decide today to deny the programming, to deny those messages, not to incorporate those into yourself, not to believe them, not to believe them, not to accept them. Push away that stuff that wants to infiltrate your thinking that makes you feel less than. No, you are not born a bad person. No, you are not a bad person. I know the church likes to tell you that all day long. You're born like this, like the fool, innocent, happy, innocent. But over the course of time, as you grew up, society started to, throw shit in that clear water which is your life. Started to, put messages in there that were not true. And then your friends and your family and all this stuff started to cloud your vision. And you lost your innocence, your birthright of your love, just self-love. I believe it was there from the very beginning as just a baby, just your very nature. You know how babies and children are, how they're just full of abundant love, energy. And then stuff starts to happen to them over time, right? Abuse, bullying, just living in the 3D world reality, which it's so far from the truth. And then that stuff starts to attach itself to you, and then you start to work out that programming out into the world, and it doesn't serve you well. It actually keeps you further away from love and further away from truth. So that's lesson 1 to self-love. We will get into, I believe the next lesson, we'll talk about chakras and how in meditation, because I already told you the first step is to decide that you want to stop putting the messages, within your mind. Also want you to turn within yourself and maybe get a journal, start writing down how you feel, what you think, because you will find over time that probably will change as well. Because when you start having these inner experiences and these inner understandings, you will start to, your mind will start to shift. Your vision will start to shift. Your perception will start to shift. And you will start to see things very differently, my friend. And you will start, life will look very different. This is not an easy journey. It should be a lifelong journey, so it's not something that you're going to fix by tomorrow or by next week. This is the journey to self-love. It's worth more than anything in this. I can tell you, it's been the best decision I've made in my life. Total over above everything else. My hair was the second best decision, because I get to keep these. This is my hair. I had this hair like this for 23 years. And I've saved a lot of money by having this hairstyle. But when I first started, it was not anything like this. It was short. I had always had short hair, and I actually dyed it a little bit last night. But I actually had really short hair, and I couldn't get the dreads, the hair to match together. And I would take it out, and I just looked horrible. And I was working. I just remember it was a hot mess. But I stayed with it. I kept with it. And my hair over time, I learned the sister-like thing, and over time it grew. I mean, obviously it's got different colors in because, I do the color thing, whatever, just to make it look a little bit different. But this is the second best decision, my hair, because I'm very active, and I, used to water ski and be in the water all the time. And I just didn't want to fool with my hair. And I would have to pay like $150, $200, $300 sometimes to get it done, put synthetic braids in it. And I had to sit like 8 hours to get that done. And I just got tired of doing that every 2-3 months, right? So this, it was something I chose to do. The second best decision of my life. I love my hair. But my first best decision was to uncover self, was to go within. And I can tell you that unhappiness that I was feeling back when I was 25, I know where it came from. I learned that, and I learned how to not accept that programming. And that's what I'm here to teach you. If you find yourself not being content or at peace in your life, and yeah, I'm sure there are people outside of our lives that do a lot of harm, that push a lot of shit our way. In one of my previous videos on my page, you'll see I talk about gang stalking, being gang stalked, and how that's been going on for forever. And, I had to learn that happiness is a choice, and that other people don't get to define how you feel, and they don't get to define your response to what they do to you. I cannot control what other people do, right? But I can control my response to it. And if I, thank God, have learned to love Felicia and have that relationship with myself, I have the best relationship with myself, right? Which is, to me, having the best relationship with God, because God is within me. But if I have that in place, then nothing that happens on the outside is going to take that away or will affect that relationship with me. I've just got to be focused on the truth, because, again, my vision has been shifted. I have to focus on that truth and not allow those people that are living in the shadows or in the darkness or in unhealed spaces to try to bring me down to that energetic level, because everything is about energy and vibration, frequency. People will try all day long, and you hear people say there's a spiritual warfare going on, right? Well, yeah, it happens all the time. People are trying all day long to take you to their level, and that's why they're constantly proselytizing their views, like I'm doing here, about their world perception, like I'm doing here, because that's what we have to give. And this is what I have to give. I'm telling you, the truth is out there. You can love yourself. You can be loved by yourself. You can create that frequency, that vibrational frequency, and put that out into the world. And then you will have those similar energies be attracted to you, right? So this is all about you. Everything comes down to you. It comes back to you. And the shift can only happen when you decide to go within. So that's going to be today's lesson. One, I know that TikTok records these videos for people that were not able to make it here, or, who just whatever. I will post some clips maybe from this video to my page. But that's pretty much it. I will see you all doing my little tarot readings that I do sometimes daily, and through my UFO footage stuff that I like to post, which that's a whole nother topic, but all that stuff is not scary to me. The UFO stuff, I have had my own experiences, which I will talk about. It's a very good experience. I will share that either live with you one day or maybe on a video, but these beings are, now I don't know about all. I know that, some people think they're malevolent beings, and some people think that there's a cross between benevolent and non-benevolent, or good and bad, but I can only speak to my own experience. So, but that is another shift that we as people are going to have to make, because we've never been told the truth, right? You've not been told the truth, but had you done the inner work years ago, you would have already known this before the government decided to, or the whistleblowers decided to come out. You would have already known this. And many of you have already had your experiences, so you know the truth. Anyways, so again, me being on a rant, which is why I take notes. And so basically, let me just recap real quick. You're the rock that ripples out into the pond, those experiences that you're going to have in life. You're the lens that needs to be shifted, corrected, so that you can see reality from a different perspective than the programming that was handed to you by the elites or some elites, or the people that are running, the doers and the shaker running society, the ones that are writing the books, the movies, the ones that are preaching in the church. You're gonna have to get rid of that, update the software. Also, when you were really, really little, all that software was being installed because you're in a hypnosis state of mindset. The theta, brainwaves, like a child. You just soak in. Your sponge is the word I was looking for. Your sponge. You're taking all that in. It doesn't serve you well when it's coming from other people who are unhealed or who are living in the dark or people who have not gone within themselves. And so that's why we have abusive parents, abusive pastors, abusive teachers, abusive friends, abusive partners, right? Because they've not updated their software as well. And we don't know where in the hell they came from and what was installed within them, right? But we all come from somewhere. So if you've not been healed, you're living in the upside down world reality. If you've been healed, if you've done the inner work, you're living in the right side up world, right? And then we talked about the shadow, which is the unconscious, and the conscious is being in the present and being aware and awake. So those people that are preaching to you and telling you not to be woke, and they're telling you to stay asleep, and they're telling you that for their benefit. They don't want you to know things that are outside of what you're being told, because it would give you power. It would give you personal power, and you would be able to actually help elevate the world and people around you. I think people just want us to be fighting one another all the time and in arguments and just in a mode of fear. And fear is a low vibrational state. It's low vibration energy, guilt, shame, all that stuff. Anger, it just keeps you bounded, enslaved in heavy energy. Remember, all we are is energy. You want to uplift your energy. And the best way you can do that is not to put that negative shit in your head, and to recognize your power and your truth, and that you are loved just because of the fact that you're here. And don't let anybody tell you anything differently. So that software, get rid of it. And let's start to go within. In the next video, I'll talk about chakras and how we can start through meditation clearing our chakras. Because we're going to have to clear out this energetic attachments that we have on ourselves so that we can claim our freedom and claim our love, claim our self-love. All right, I'll see you on the next video. I hope that you